Mr. Happy Living here, and I'm happy to be broadcasting from WITV7 in the beautiful Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina, USA. Hey, friends, I'd like you to take a moment right now and just imagine how fantastic you'd feel living the unique and distinct life you were put on this planet to live, doing work you love, with people you love, in places you love, and all the while creating something of real value to others. That's what I call a life of significance. And I can tell you it makes a very happy life. And so can my friends, Ed Hearn and Bobby Mclaughlin and Lisa Wolfe. They're my guest stars today, and they're all here to share an update of the unique and distinct journey that connected their lives of significance. Hey, Lisa, welcome to the show, and Ed and Bobby, welcome back.
Thank you.
Great to be
Thanks,
here.
sir. Nice to be here again, Matt.
Right on. Okay, folks, we have a very special story to share with you today. It started way back in June of 2018 when I interviewed Ed about his incredible life story that he captured in his book called Conquering Life's Curves, Baseball, Battles, and Beyond. So Ed, will you kick us off and just give us a few highlights of your journey from the penthouse to the outhouse and back?
Yeah, you said that right, Matt. Well, I had an opportunity to play a little Major League Baseball after 8.5 years in the minor leagues, a part of a World Series New York Mets team in 1986. In my rookie season, traded to the Royals to be their starting catcher, and had a shoulder injury in my career after a major reconstructive surgery. And, it was, I'd transitioned out of the game, and, I wonder what is all this about? I'd always dreamed of being a ball player, but God put me in a place where, that wasn't the worst of it, because a year later I was diagnosed with end-stage renal failure and two other major health concerns, and ended up being on dialysis there less than 2 years after being in the major leagues, and was blessed to receive my first kidney transplant from the UNOS cadaver list. And I was fortunate to have that for about 7 years. It ran out of juice. I had a living related transplant for number 2. Unfortunately, the hospital I was at did terrible review of my donor, and much to her chagrin, the kidney didn't start, and they had to pull it eventually. And so I was back on dialysis, and I had for number 3, I had a living non-related transplant. It gets confusing keeping up with all this. And that one was a winner. It lasted 20 years up until late last year.
And let's stop that part of your story there, because I think that's about when, in the end of last year, September of 2022, that I was on an epic Yellowstone adventure with my new van, and I'd contacted you and said, "Hey, Ed, can I stop by and visit with you and your wonderful wife in Shawnee, Kansas?"
Yes.
And can you explain? So pick up where you were just talking about. Explain to our audience why you were so reluctant to have me visit.
Well, because I was going through another challenging time of that 20-year kidney that had supported me through 20 great years, where I had the opportunity to really find out what all this story was about. And I was blessed to have the opportunity to travel around the country doing keynote motivational speaking, corporations, associations, churches, and it was fabulous. All the loss, the outhouse part of the story. This was what it was all about. This, and it just made my life. And eventually that transplant, it went 20 years. It was a great transplant, and then I was going into end-stage failure. I was anemic, and when you came by here, I didn't tell you till the second day we were together. But when I started asking about you and some things, and the Mr. Happy Band, just at a time when things weren't so happy, because I was struggling physically and mentally, emotionally. And you come in like Mr. Happy, woohoo, and just. But then I came to realize, we all have problems. We all have stuff going on, and it was a real blessing to understand your situation, and that you were still persevering and being Mr. Happy and spreading the wonderful news of what you do, and that's bringing out the best in people, so that they can make a difference in other people's lives. It's awesome.
Well,
But
thank you.
I was going downhill.
Yeah. Yeah. But I remember leaving the next morning, and I didn't know that you were having this kidney failure at the time when I called you. And of course, I learned all about it that night. And I remember leaving the next morning and promised you that I'd try to help. And I remember as I was driving away, God brought me his word from Proverbs 3:28. And it says, do not say to your neighbor, go and come back, and tomorrow I will give it to you when you have it with you. And I'm thinking, oh my God, is God telling me to give Ed one of my kidneys? And I don't even know if I shared all this with you, Ed, but I prayed about it. I called my pastor about it. I called a very good friend of mine who's been a doctor ever since college, 40 years now. And I ultimately made the decision that I wasn't going to donate one of my kidneys to you, Ed. But I determined that I was going to make an effort to help you get one by raising awareness of living donations through the National Kidney Register.
Yeah.
So that's when I invited you back on the show in January of 2023 for episode 113. That's an episode that we called There's Always Someone Worse Off Than You.
Sure.
So Ed, try to give us just a few minutes about the lessons that you've learned while living with a critical medical condition, and specifically about the urgency you were feeling to find your fourth kidney donor.
Well, it comes out of the speaking and the opportunity to make a difference in other people's lives, and the joy that brought me. And that's the main thing that I learned. And I was speaking about all over the country. And you can have everything in life you want. You just help enough other people get what they want. And so I was hanging with that. And my faith told me that, hey, you know what? It's going to work out. But, when we go through those dark times, you look at the fellows in the Bible. That's what I love. Some of the biggest champions doubted and all this, but yet they were God's people. And so if they can do it, I can do it. And just, had to hang on there and just battle through it until God's timing. And his timing came when the young lady here on our show heard about my need. And that's the rest of the story.
Yeah, and so let me pick up right with that. So for my interview research for Ed, I sent out some private messages. This was back at the end of 2022 to people that I knew Ed. I didn't know these people, but I knew they knew Ed. And I asked them what they could tell me about Ed and his motivating, persistent, and generous spirit. So that's when I first heard from Lisa. It was December 5th of 2022, Lisa, and you wrote nearly 500 words. So I'll summarize the start of it. You said, hi, Matt, how much time do you have? And you said you were a New Yorker who loves Mets baseball, and that's how you came to know Ed. You said Ed loves God, and that he's generous and caring and loving and open and funny, super funny. And you wrote that if you had to describe him in one word, you'd say he's genuine. And then you told me about reading his book, Conquering Life's Curves, and how you found yourself in shock with what you were reading. So can you explain to our audience why you were in shock?
It has to do with, I didn't realize that he tried to kill himself or thought about it. I'm not sure I would say tried.
Right.
Because you've got to be really down a deep, dark place to do that. And that just upset me to no end. But obviously I knew he did not do it because he's still here. So I was very grateful for that. And it just freaked me out.
Yeah, and the penthouse to outhouse and backstory, there was a lot of outhouse in there, wasn't there?
There was a lot of outhouse in there, and obviously it was a closed outhouse.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was not trying to escape, apparently.
Yeah. All right. So, and Bobby, at the same day, I actually got your outreach to me, and you wrote nearly 400 words. And again, I'll summarize. You said that you were a living kidney donor. I thought that was very interesting. You caught my attention, and an avid baseball fan. Then you told me that in March of 2022, so yeah, the previous spring, that you had organized a climb of Kilimanjaro in Tanzania with 25 kidney donors and advocates to bring awareness to the need for living donation, to show what's possible living a full life after donating a kidney. I got goosebumps when I read that. Then when you added, not everyone can donate a kidney, but maybe everyone can consider what they can do to help others, I knew we had to have you on the show too. And so you came on in February 2023 for episode 114 that we called, Why Would I Donate My Kidney to a Total Stranger? So Bobby, give us a few minutes and tell our audience about the successes that you had in your first trip up Kilimanjaro, and why and how you completely transformed your life for the cause of raising awareness of living kidney donations.
Yeah, it's been a journey, and one that, like Ed said, it's like, what can we do to help others? And as my life continued to seemingly unravel, which others might call the outhouse, I spent some time in my own outhouse, and kind of coming through the stench of all of that, if you will, came to this place where, after my journey to donation, it was again similar to what Ed says, like, how can we help others? Like, after my donation, it was like, there has to be more that I can do. I can't donate another kidney, but I can use what I have been gifted to find a way to just try to help others and bring awareness, sure, to living donation, kidney, liver, et cetera, but just bring more goodness into the world in whatever form any of us are able to do. So we kicked off. Yep.
And so that brings me to another part of your 400 words. You wrote that you came to know Ed's situation as part of your media outreach before your first Kilimanjaro track. And you said that he shared, quote, his blessings in life and his opportunity to help others through his challenges in life, and that he inspired you to use your life to help others and spread ripples of goodness and kindness wherever possible. So you were just kind of talking about that, but give us a little bit about how Ed's story and Ed's attitude led you to be inspired.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a longtime baseball fan, and I was at the 1979 All-Star game in Seattle and got a home run ball that Lee Mazzilli, a Met at that time, hit. And I'm just a little, 12-year-old kid, but I had this ball, like, this is like one of my great treasures. And I was always on the lookout for, how do I get it to Lee Mazzilli? Because after a while, like, I don't need it. Like, wouldn't it be cool if he had it? So I always had New York Mets kind of in the clouds, on the horizon, waiting for these opportunities. And then, of course, through my kidney awareness efforts, see Ed's story, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, this New York Mets guy, and he needs a kidney, and there's a baseball connection there, there's a kidney connection there. And I've long turned the corner on these coincidental connections in life. I used to think, wow, what a coincidence that is. But
yeah, right.
I'm with you, Lisa. Like, no, there's more in play here. And
yep.
And so, yeah, in our climb of Kilimanjaro this past March here, we wanted to, us donors and recipients and advocates that went to climb Kili, we wanted to try to do everything that we could. And so we called it Adopting Others' Stories, and took on it.
Yeah, let me continue with that. So a month after we published your Something Significant episode, you were taken an even larger group up Keeley, as you call it, for World Kidney Day on March 9th, 2023. And so I said, holy smokes, we have to get you and Ed back on the show to tell us about the success of Kilimanjaro 2023 and to get an update on Ed's continuing search for a donor. And so we published that. It was a very inspiring episode, number 123 on May 3rd. So Bobby, give us the highlights that you're about to dive into of your second adventure, leading a group of amazing people. I think it was 53 in total from 3 continents and 5 countries to climb Mount Kilimanjaro to raise awareness for others in need. So give us a second update.
Yeah, for sure. The first Kili trek that I was part of organizing, our media awareness reached about 30 million. And it was like, in a baseball term, it was like, dang, that was a really cool grand slam there. Like, let's get up to the plate again and see what we can do. And learned a lot, and we could make some improvements. And so with a different group of people this past March, as you say, large numbers of people from various countries, all with this kind of common theme of, can we raise awareness? Can we help more people? So our particular story has topped out. Well, probably not topped out, because there's still ripples that we're not aware of, but we're at about 100 million people that have seen our story from this past year. And Stacy, my partner here, when we started this last journey, I had said to her, I was like, I want to target this dream of that this story is going to reach 100 million people. And she looked at me like, you're crazy, you're off your rocker. But it's been fun to track it, and like, here we are, right? And
amazing. And so Ed, why don't you come in and tell us what it meant to you to be with this amazing group of people in spirit as you followed their great trek up the mountain from your bed back in the USA on dialysis, with your health and life hanging in the balance. How are you feeling while this was going on?
Matt, I'm scared to death of heights. They took me up that tall mountain. I mean, from my bed, yeah, but it was still kind of hairy. But it was, when people take action to help others, during that time, I remember so many people were praying for you. We're praying for you, all these emojis.
Mm.
And, after a while, it's like, wait a second, I don't not have any people stepping forward to be a donor right now. And I was just feeling great that these people were taking action. Not just saying, oh, we love you, and oh, we're praying for you, and da-da-da. They took action. They were climbing this mountain to bring awareness to this great living donation kidney registry, National Kidney Registry, that is bringing together tremendous connections and getting great
Ripples.
Results.
Yeah. For example, they're on the waiting list. Most people on the waiting list 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Once I got approved, Lisa had donated and given me this voucher, and less than 3 months later, I had a voucher donor from Minneapolis, also giving altruistically, like Lisa, and here less than 3 months, and people are waiting 3 to 5 years. And this is what Bobby is doing. He's encouraging people like me that are going through this, and he's trying, like I hope to do someday, educate people about this wonderful registry, and we can cut this the people waiting for dialysis in half at least through this new system.
And Ed, I know when I gave you advice ahead of the show about not rushing to the end, that I was going to have a hard time holding you back, but here we are. I want to go back to Kilimanjaro. And Bobby, I understand that Ed gave an inspiring pep talk to the Kilimanjaro 53 climbers from his hospital bed. Try to explain to our audience what that was like for you guys over there.
Yeah, for sure. So my journey has continued to evolve as I've learned more. We stopped in at a dialysis center in Moshi, Tanzania, and visited the people who will live the rest of their life on partial dialysis there. There's no hope for them, just the way the system is there. And Ed was gracious to join our kickoff meeting the night before we left, as I'm holding my cell phone and showing his beautiful little mug around to our group while he's doing his inspiring talk to let us know that what we're doing matters and how it can possibly provide some hope for those who are in a situation similar to his, and just to connect, right? Like we just connect with people, and none of these people knew who Ed was. They knew of his story, but it was great. It was like we had this group hug across the continents, and our people felt chills, and it was fantastic.
Get goosebumps just hearing that. And Ed, so explain to our audience, what did that mean to you? Here you were giving this pep talk from a hospital bed to 51 strangers and Bobby and Stacy.
I wasn't feeling particularly well that day, I remember. And, it was a little bit of a stretch to get it, to do it. But I mean, I had to do it. I mean, there's just no other way. And, I get done with talking to these people for 3, 4, 5 minutes. I don't know what it was, but it lifted me.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, it lifted them, I guess, but it lifted me. And that's what happens in this world when we give, when we think outside ourselves, it comes back to us. Not necessarily right away. Right, Lisa?
Nope.
Are you wondering about that right now, Lisa? It's but that's what happens. So that's the feel. That's what I was feeling.
Yeah, that's great.
Beautiful thing.
That's great. And Bobby, one more before we go over to Lisa. Will you share with our audience what real sees real means and how that's impacted your relationship with Ed and Lisa and with the many people who hiked Kilimanjaro with you and the many that supported you on those treks and all that you're doing with the mission for your life today? Real means real sees real.
Yeah, there's so that came on day 2 of our trek, where we had been a year prior, and then when we return, a lot of the support crew, 100 or so guides and porters and cooks and you name it, we have this growing relationship, and so while some of us don't speak Swahili as well as we should when we travel to Tanzania, we can communicate, and these people were able to see what we were attempting to do. And a young man, same age as my son, one day on the trail, as we're just chatting things, he just spoke those words, that real sees real, in terms of they see what it is that we're doing, and people who have open minds and open hearts can also see others who have the same, and the power that can evolve and grow through that to ripple out to help other people is really what all of this was all about, and why we wanted to return, and why we have 2 future trips on the books to go back, and another to Patagonia, to keep sharing and growing as we do this.
Awesome. And the young man's name, what did you call him?
I call him my son, is what I call him now.
Wasn't it called Happy Happy?
Happy is a different guy. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Mixing up my stories.
Yep.
All right.
Come on, man. Everybody's not happy like you.
All right. I was looking for a cheap plug. Let's get Lisa back in, and let's go back to that 500-word outpouring that you wrote me on December 5th, Lisa. You wrote that when Ed began posting his need for a kidney, that you started sharing his posts and asking your Facebook friends to pray about it. You said that you wanted one of your peeps to be Eddie's hero. But then you explained that you started feeling like a liar. That's your word, not mine. And you were feeling guilty and ultimately decided maybe you should be Ed's hero. So take our audience back to that decision-making process and tell us what happened next.
I'm not sure it was my decision because, like you said, I felt like a liar because I was asking other people to go and get tested and I hadn't done it. So I decided I was going to test. And the reason I decided that was because I kept getting poked. Whenever I put the post up for anybody to, hey, come on, get yourself tested, I was like, I felt a poke. So after a few times, I'm a little slow. I'm like, okay, I must be having to do this too. So I started the process 3 times. My first time was a place that was up in Richmond, and they lost my paperwork. So I said, okay, that's not good. So I tried a place a lot closer to me. And they didn't lose my paperwork, but they had a lot more rules. And they were not part of the voucher program, although they said they could do the voucher program. And when I told that to Ed, he said, no, that's not going to work. You need the voucher program. And between the two of us, because I was doing my research and he was doing his research, we both kind of came across Georgetown. And that's where I eventually decided to go because they had the voucher program. They had a lot of practice, good practice in their donations, and they have a very good success rate. So that's where I went.
Explain to our audience what the voucher program means.
I actually call it the Great Kidney Swap. I donated my kidney, and in return for doing that to somebody, because I was not Ed's match, which really upset me, by the way. I was very upset, asked my friends. I was okay the next day, but so they give a voucher to the person I was supposed to donate to. So basically, he gets get one free kidney voucher. So when there is somebody that matches, he gets that kidney, and that's where Ed got his.
And you have a credit in the system should you ever need a kidney for you or for your family. Is that correct?
I don't know if I have one for my family, but if I need a kidney, I kind of go to the top of the list for a recipient.
Yeah. Okay, and then once you made the decision, didn't you also then get sick, or you got your surgery was delayed, wasn't it?
It was a cluster of miscommunication for a bit, and things got put off, and I was just getting frustrated with it.
Did you ever have doubts? Did you think that these
Nope.
1,
Not a
2,
one.
3, you just kept walking right through and said this is the right thing?
God told me to do this, and I was going to just keep plugging along. Ed even told me it was okay if I backed out, which pissed me off, by the way, brother. I told him I was not backing out. God put me on this path. God rules. You're not getting your way. God's getting his way.
Bobby, this is a little what you mean, that even after you've donated, you can still be a vibrant, aggressive, energetic person like Lisa.
Absolutely. We're going to get Lisa to climb Kilimanjaro with Ed one of these days.
That's right.
Well, I'll wear my shirt.
2024. Okay, Ed, let's talk about one of my favorite subjects called the power of giving. You've been talking about it. And I've heard you say that you could have played 10 or 15 years in the big leagues and never have made the impact that has resulted from using the humbling of life's challenges to give inspiration and motivation to others and to help them find their own direction and purpose in life. So go into that a little deeper and tell us what you mean.
So over the last 25 years, I've been speaking, and before 9/11, they asked me about, because I was a ball player, paying the price to perseverance, teamwork, blah, blah, blah. And then when 9/11 happened, it was all about change. How do you survive major change? Because our country is going through a lot. And
Mhm.
and everything switched to the second half of my life where it was all the outhouse and back. And so through that, I had a mom that did for other people all the time. And I just kind of, it just grew on me. And I began to realize, and I have so many stories that I can share, and I do during my speaking of, driving home this point. And here's what happened to me. I mean, I would have never met my wife. I sold my biggest insurance policy, a $50,000 commission check, because I was doing something for somebody else. Had nothing to do with me trying to make money on that or find a wife. No. And just like that, I'm going to cap this off with the best story yet, because it involves Lisa. You see, 40 years ago or so, the Mets, my rookie season, we were playing in Montreal. And this young lady hollers up from down from the bullpen, "Hey, my birthday is during the Montreal trip. My sister's taking me up there for my first road trip. Will you have lunch with me?" And I'm just a nice guy. I mean, hey, you make the fans happy, right? So apparently, because I don't remember much of this, and I guess I said yes. And I didn't find this out. I did say yes.
And that was Lisa.
It's
That
so
was how
weird.
many years ago?
It was
1986. You
1986.
did subtraction. I don't know.
I'm just
435
good at the math.
years. Yeah.
That's great.
And so her sister drove up to Montreal, and I had agreed to have lunch with her. Just be nice. I mean, I couldn't, I didn't know anything. She was pretty young for my age group, but like now, I'm much older than her now. But the point is, me doing that, just saying yes to having lunch with somebody, and I think it was fun for her, right? I mean, she says it's her
Apparently.
first date since then, but yeah, she said I was pretty dull back then, but I've worked on that since then, right, Lisa?
Oh yeah.
But 35 or 40 years later,
Yeah.
that small act of being there for a friend, and I'm glad I did it because I got to re-meet her because I didn't remember anything.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
but that was just you do things like that.
Yeah.
And here, look at this. This young lady becomes a mature woman, and she is a woman of faith, and I got what I needed. I got that's what I, but only because of that 35 years ago. Who would have come forth? I don't
Well,
know.
yeah, that's amazing. And that's so, Bobby, so why don't you jump in on that and just explain? So Ed gave and Ed got back. Can you explain the experience of love and joy that giving one of your kidneys as a living donor has given back to you? Maybe a little bit about the young man you donated to and how you extended his life, but what's it meant to you?
Yeah, it just continues to be that gift that I gave that keeps giving back. And it hasn't stopped yet. I'm approaching 5 years from my donation. I donated to a stranger, met Devin a bit later, was able to meet his wife and their 2 kids and the grandmas and just see a little bit of what that impact of somebody receiving can be like. Unfortunately, Devin passed away during COVID. In his passing, he donated what he could to help others too, which gives me chills. And when I was called and notified of that from the family, I was chilled to feel part of that. And multiple people out there are benefiting because of Devin's gift. And it's like, it's just this giving to others. From my perspective, we don't need to know what happens from it. We just do it.
Just act.
Just do it. So.
We have 2 kidneys. We have 2 kidneys. We don't need but one. So let's go, right? I mean, Bobby finally figured it out. See?
Three of us have
Well,
one
there's
kidney.
there's
That's
evidence of well, 3 out of the 4 of you are working with one.
Yep.
Okay, so speaking of
And we're
giving,
fine.
speaking of giving, I've learned that there's something like 150,000 people who were like Ed in desperate need of a kidney transplant in our country alone. And Lisa, when you wrote me, you said that you personally want Ed to get so many people inspired to become living donors after hearing his miraculous testimony that the wait list will become almost non-existent. So please tell our audience why that's so important to you personally.
Because there's no reason to have so many people on a wait list when there's millions of people that could donate. So we could just go get rid of all this wait list if people just realize, okay, yes, there's a risk, but look at the outcome from that risk.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many people we could give their lives back to just if we could get them to donate.
Yeah, that's great. And Ed, will you tell us a little about the experience this time with the National Kidney Registry compared to the experience you had 20 years ago with your third donor?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is one of the keys for me is that, as I mentioned earlier, and I got ahead of you, I guess, but the average weight of those
Yes.
people that are active and approved and active on the U.S. UNOS cadaveric donor list, it's 3 to 5 years, 6, 7 years for some people. That's the average wait time.
Yeah.
Like I might have mentioned earlier, by the time I got approved at the University of Minnesota, less than 3 months later, I received Jamie's kidney in Minnesota. 3 months.
What's the whole name of Jamie?
I don't remember right offhand.
Oh, sorry. Okay, Jamie. We'll go with Jamie.
And I don't know if she wants to be shared yet. It takes time, so I try not to put her out there too much. So
Very good. And Lisa, how is your experience with the National Kidney Registry and the entire process of being a living kidney donor? How has it been for you? When did you donate? It was just in May, I think. And how are you doing? How was the process for you?
I donated at the end of April, and that was fine. They treated me at Georgetown like I was super special. I was like, dang.
hey, because you were wearing my uniform.
No,
Hey.
this is before that.
No.
Before I went in, before they sliced and diced me. They just made you feel like you were really special. And they were like, if you got any problems, you just call, ask, whatever, we'll get it fixed. And it was very smooth from that point. The National Kidney Registry does have a few glitches, which they should fix. I'm not going to be, rude about it, but I'm also not going to lie. They definitely have some glitches.
Well, I want to add here, Matt, for her and my donor, because I met my donor in Minnesota just a couple weeks ago, and I learned that she was out of the hospital the very next day too. So I thought, Lisa was just an animal to get out the next day. I couldn't believe it. And here Jamie got out right at the next day. So, when you said, yes, there's a risk to donate, but that risk is so minuscule. You look at the statistics truly, and you're out the next day, and they've gotten so good at this procedure that the donors, it's not really a risk. So Matt, you're missing out, dude.
I'm paying attention. Bobby, how can listeners get involved in this process?
Oh goodness, there's so many kidney organizations doing so many great things. Simple little internet search for kidney donation is going to bring up a host of different things. And true to most things, if you just keep digging, keep opening that next door, it's kind of endless. The number of people and organizations that are out there doing what they can to help people they know, or total strangers too.
Very good. So I remember when for the last episode I did, I found 2 quotes with you guys. Ed and Bob.
More exact on that, the National Kidney Registry is what I would tell people. nationalkidneyregistry.org. And there's a good 50 to 100 transplant centers around the country that are in the game with them. And to me, you shouldn't go anywhere else. Go to a great facility that that works with the NKR.
Like Georgetown.
Georgetown, there you go.
Okay, and we'll give that website again at the end too. So to prepare for the last interview I did with you and Ed, Bobby, I looked up these 2 quotes from living kidney donors. One of them said, "Getting to watch life flow back into somebody, it's indescribable." And then the other one was, "I heard the story of becoming a living donor and something in me shifted. I knew immediately that it would be me. Since the surgery, a calm contentment spread through me and has increased daily." So Bobby, what could you add to those quotes as a living donor yourself?
Yeah, those people who gave those quotes are beautiful human beings. I'll tell you, I know who they are, and specifically for kidney donation, the people that I've met have felt that it's one of the best decisions that they've made in their life. I know for me, that's how I would phrase it as well. It's been a fantastic journey. I'm a bone and tissue recipient myself prior to my donation, so I know I know the importance and the value in giving and in receiving. And just, people are interested, like Ed said, check out NKR. Just begin inquiring and see if it's something that's for you. And if it's not something that's for you, maybe there's something else that you land on that brings happiness and joy to others, because that's great too.
Yeah. Lisa, what would you add?
Don't be afraid. It's a process, but it's also an incredible journey. That's what life is. It's an incredible journey. And if you can help somebody live a life that's worth living by being able to go out and do what they need to do, it's amazing.
That's awesome. And Ed, as the recipient, how does all that make you feel?
I mean, it's almost a loss of words when you ask me that here with 2 donors. But I will tell you this, Matt, for my contribution here, I have never seen anybody that had donated been a living donor that is not excited about it. It's made their life. I mean, that's what I keep hearing. Oh, it changed my life. It made my life. It was the best thing I ever did, in life. I mean, I was just incredible. And I've never heard anybody say, "Oh yeah, that was a waste of time." Never, never, never.
Well, and this whole idea of giving, that's what this show is all about. It's finding that magic in life. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things like Bobby and Lisa have done here by giving their time and talents and treasures and even their kidneys to improve the lives of others. This show exists to inspire others to create their own version of living a life of significance, just as the 3 of you have done. It's creating the personal power that you need to take good care of yourself and your family, discovering and living your purpose, God's reason for putting you on this planet, and then giving to others, lifting them up, helping them to live better lives. That's our happy formula. Power times purpose times giving equals happy to the 3rd power, and that's really, truly, deeply happy. Does that sound about right to you guys?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Spot on.
Okay. And now, folks, it's your chance to be a giver too. If you can hear my voice and you were inspired by today's show with Ed Hearn and Bobby Mclaughlin and Lisa Wolfe, please share some love with our magnificent broadcast team by giving what you can to WITV7. They're a 501c3 charity on a mission to educate, empower, and encourage. They do good works with your kindness. Okay, let's wrap up with the main purpose of all this that we're doing and talking about here is to raise awareness about live kidney donation. And that we're here to invite everyone in our audience, everyone who hears this podcast now and long into the future, to become part of something truly amazing. As Bobby has said, something that'll generate so much goodwill, it'll blow your mind. So to get more information and more importantly, to get involved, here are a few resources for you. And I strongly encourage you to take action right away. Ed mentioned before the National Kidney Registry. To see how you may be able to help, just go to nkr.org /, well, no /, that was for Ed's kidney. And we've got Ed's kidney. We no longer need the /, nkr.org. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
To learn more about the 2023 Kilimanjaro Advocacy Adventure, and or to join Bobby and others on the 2024 Trek Up Kilimanjaro, go to livingdonoradventures.com. That's all one word, LIVINGDONOR adventures.com, livingdonoradventures.com. And also check them out on Facebook at Living Donor Adventures. And while you're there, friend Bobby at bobbymclaughlin.167. Once again, that's BOBBYMCLAUGHLIN.167. And you can friend Ed at edhearn.5. That's EDHEARN.5. And you can friend Lisa at brandy.graze, BRANDY.GRAZE. Ed, Bobby, and Lisa, I just love the important work that you're doing, and I admire the collective spirit of enthusiasm and optimism and loving others. And I'm super happy that you've shared your struggle and success and encouragement on our show today. Will you each take a minute or two and share any parting remarks you'd like to leave with our audience? Ladies first. Lisa, will you go?
Well, thank you. I just want to encourage people to try to help anybody and everybody in some way. Doesn't have to be a kidney. It can just be smiling at somebody, letting them know that you see them. There's a saying among the homeless that they don't get seen. So if you do see somebody sitting on the street and they are homeless, smile at them, say hi. You could just save their life by acknowledging them. We do so much for ourselves that there's no reason why we can't do a little for anybody and everybody.
Yep, very good. Bobby, how about you?
Well, thank you for this platform to bring us together to create this fabric, which will invite the next threads to join the fabric to create more goodness wherever we can. And I think when we find intentionality to be good to others and to help others, then that's exactly what happens. And like Ed has said over and over, that comes back to us. So thank you, Matt, and happy to be here with all of you.
Awesome. And Ed, how about you?
I guess I'll wrap it up this way. You know, sometimes people don't think they have anything to give, or they don't have the money or the talents or gifts. You know, but what we all have differing gifts that we're given. And Matt, you're the platform here to get our voices out there. Bobby is a tremendous voice for all this. Lisa is just getting started, but she gave the kidney to help me get back in the game of life. So all coming from different backgrounds, all with different gifts, but when you combine them together, you get the team. And that's what makes the strength to make a difference in this world, by doing things together, not one-on-one, not one-on-one, but together.
Yeah, wonderful. And thank you, Bobby, and thank you, Ed, and thank you, Lisa. I've been so excited to get this story out there, and now we've got it in the can. And I also want to thank WITV7 for hosting and promoting our show so we can keep interviewing and inspiring guest stars like Ed and Bobby and Lisa. and reaching folks just like you ready to create your own extraordinary lives. And most especially, thank you, listeners and viewers. I want you to know that I love you, and I want you to be really, truly, deeply happy too. So go to happyliving.com and take our happy quiz, because when you measure your happy, you focus attention on it, and focusing attention on it inspires change and learning and improvement to flow right into your life. And once you take the quiz, and it only takes a minute, I hope you'll give some thought about what we can do together, you and me, to improve the happy of your world, one person at a time. Till next time, I'm Matt Gersper. You are awesome, and this is the Something Significant Show. And before we go, happy birthday to Ed.
All about being happy, baby.
And we're out. Thank you, guys. Thank you.